Welcome back, everyone, and if this is your first time, welcome here. Let's get straight into it. First, we have Corden on Myra the Magnificent. Not sure what this deck does. Second, we have Sam on Fire Lord Azula. I'll have 2 of everything. Then we have Max on Etali. I'll have everything for free, thank you. Then finally, and certainly not least, we have Ryan on Ashling Flame Dancer. And this deck is seriously sick. You won't want to miss it. Well, that's that. Let's get into it. Sam starts the game off with a casual player's dream. He casts Soul Ring into Arcane Signet and then passes the turn. Ryan, with a pretty hot start too, casts Mox Diamond into Ragavan. Max, also with the great start, takes the damage from his land and casts Tinderwall before passing it. Corden casts Strike It Rich, then Lotus Petal, also off to a hot CEDH start. Sam, however, doesn't think this is enough action for turn 1 and casts Vampiric Tutor. On turn 2, Sam casts his commander and passes it to Ryan. Ryan plays a mountain as land for turn and heads straight to Bonks, hitting Corden for 2. Ryan then casts Namesticker Goblin, adding some red mana, and then casts his commander, Ashling Flame Dancer. Ryan then passes the turn. Max plays a land and sacks his Tinderwall to cast Treasonous Ogre. Max then pays 21 life to cast his commander, Etali Primal Conqueror. With the Etali ETB still on the stack, Corden casts Lightning Bolt, taking out the Treasonous Ogre. Before it dies, Max floats 3 mana with it. The Etali ETB then resolves. Max gets Pongify, Grim Monolith, Underworld Breach, and Jessica's Will. What a flip. Max first resolves Pongify, destroying Azula. Max then resolves Jessica's Will, targeting Corden. Corden, however, responds by pitching a blue card to cast Snapback and return Etali to Max's hand. Max then resolves Underworld Breach and Grim Monolith. Max then, with all his newfound mana, casts Etali from his hand. From his flips, he hits an Arcane Signet, Ragavan, Fury Storm, and Mana Vault. There are no legal targets for Fury Storm, so Max leaves that in exile. He then casts Mana Vault, Arcane Signet, and Ragavan. Quick question, are you able to cast Ragavan for his dash cost when you cast him with Etali? Max then casts Wheel of Fortune. Everyone now having a new 7, Max pitches his Elvish Spirit Guide and casts a Desperate Ritual. Then to keep the mana rolling, Max casts Namesticker Goblin, adding 6 red mana. Max then uses Underworld Breach to cast Jessica's Will from his grave. Ryan responds with the Reverberate, copying the Jessica's Will. Ashling Flame Dancer's triggers, and Ryan draws a card and discards a card. Ryan's Jessica's Will resolves, then Max's Jessica's Will resolves. Max then casts Seething Song from exile, as that's one of the cards that Jessica's Will's exiled. Max then casts Soul Ring, also from his Jessica's Will exile pile. Max then uses 3 of his newfound mana to cast Heat Shimmer, targeting Etali. Ryan takes the time to dig and casts Pyroblast, targeting something red. Ashling Flame Dancer triggers twice. Ryan holds priority and casts Mog Salvage, having 2 more Ashling Flame Dancer triggers. With all this still on the stack, Max sacrifices Ragavan to cast Flare of Duplication, targeting his Heat Shimmer. Ryan, however, still has a response and casts Deflecting Swat, retargeting Max's first Heat Shimmer to target Ryan's Ragavan instead of Etali. Ryan draws a card and then discards a card to Ashling Flame Dancer's trigger. Deflecting Swat resolves, and then Max's Flare of Denial Heat Shimmer copy resolves. On that flip, Max hits Born Upon the Wind, Jessica's Will, Pyretic Ritual, and Sylvan Library. Max first casts the Born Upon the Wind, giving all of his spells flash and drawing a card. Max then resolves the Pyretic Ritual and adding 3 red. Max finally then resolves the Jessica's Will, adding more red to his mana pool. Max then resolves the Sylvan Library, which is probably going to be useless this game. Ryan then adds 4 red mana to their mana pool and draws a card and discards a card. Mog Savage then destroys one of Max's tapped useless artifacts Ashling then deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature that each opponent controls. They should have killed the Ragavan copy, not that it's important. Ryan then draws a card and discards a card. Pyroblast then fizzles, and so does the Heat Shimmer. With the stack finally clear, Max doesn't hesitate to cast another Heat Shimmer from his graveyard using Underworld Breach. Max's newest Etali gets a Seething Song, Lion's Eye Diamond, Grim Monolith, and Thought Scour. Max chooses to resolve the Thought Scour first, targeting himself, then the Grim Monolith, then the Lion's Eye Diamond, and finally the Seething Song. Then to no one's surprise, Max then again casts Etali. This time he gets a Pixie Guide, Swan Song, Spikefield Hazard, and Molten Duplication. He casts all of them, and of course to make things complicated, he casts the Molten Duplication first. From this flip, he gets a Flusterstorm, Gitaxian Probe, Wandering Archaic, and Flare of Duplication. He first casts the Wandering Archaic. He then casts the Flare of Duplication, targeting the Gitaxian Probe to look at one blue player's hand, and then the other Gitaxian Probe to look at the second blue player's hand. Then Max casts Eldritch Evolution at flash speed, sacrificing his Etali to go get Rionia. The table then scoops it up. Holy moly, was that a game. 2 essentially mono red decks having 12 triggers on this deck. What a world. Anyway, let's not waste any time and jump into Game 2. Ryan's going first and starts the game off with a turn 1 Soul Ring. Max fetches and casts a Strike at Rich. After that last game, Corden has especially had it with Etali. So, Corden follows up his Soul Ring with a Torpor Orb, stopping all creature enter the battlefield abilities. Sam fetches and then casts Imperial Seal before passing the turn. Ryan casts a Flail of Galadriel. This is most likely going to be used for its if you have no cards, draw 2 ability. Ryan then casts Lion's Eye Diamond and uses it immediately so that they can afford to cast Ashling Flame Dancer. Ryan then passes the turn. Max starts his turn by casting Gamble. He discards an Eldritch Evolution, plays a land for turn, and passes the turn. Corden draws a card, plays a land, and taps 4 to cast Corden's commander, Myra the Magnificent. Corden then passes the turn. Sam untaps, draws a card for turn, plays a land, then taps 2 to cast Grim Monolith. Sam then passes it there. Ryan and Sam's end step will float a red, which will never go away thanks to Ashling. Ryan casts a Vexing Bauble. However, this kills Corden's deck, so Corden casts a Fierce Guardianship, countering the Vexing Bauble. In Ryan's end step, Max fetches, grabbing a Shock, and then casts Worldly Tutor, getting a Treasonous Ogre to the top of Max's library. Max draws a Treasonous Ogre as card for turn, and bolts in a land. Max then casts Force of Vigor, destroying Corden's Soul Ring, and Tax Beast. Max then sacrifices his treasure to cast Treasonous Ogre. Max then pays 21 life to cast Etali. Max's opponents don't even want to flip and concede the game there. Sorry that second game's a little anticlimactic, but what do you do? You can't blame the opponents either. They lost the last 2 games on turn 2 to Etali, so oh well. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.